Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar where we're going to be talking about managing traceability when cost and safety are at stake. We appreciate you taking the time today to join us, and I hope you'll find this time beneficial. Our speaker today is Todd Waterman. Todd is a solution architect at Velosio. He has over 19 years of experience in the technology and business software consulting space. In addition, Todd has extensive background in the agriculture and nursery industry, working with companies to solve business issues. Todd, go ahead, take it away, Todd.
Thanks, Dale. So what we're going to talk about today is traceability. So this is a big topic. It really depends. I mean, what traceability or lot tracking, everybody calls it, is a very common thing to call lot track. And really that's when you identify which materials that require tracking and the stages of production where information needs to be recorded throughout the manufacturing process. Really, we are manufacturers, right? Even though we're not making widgets or cars or medical equipment, we are manufacturing. Our product does not finish the same every time, but it is manufacturing. So very common in manufacturing is lot tracking. Think about highly regulated industries, health products, safety products, food, things that those are by law have to be lot tracked, because obviously if something happened, or think about cars, there may be a recall. So think about every single piece and part that makes up a car. Every item is lot tracked. So if they have problems with one piece, they're able to track that back to figure out what cars got that, right? And who in the public got that. So you've probably gotten those, hopefully not, but maybe gotten something in the mail where it's telling you, your year, make, and model of the car is, some part is recalled, right? Well, that's because they lot tracked. But for us in the horticulture industry, unless you are growing food, right, it's common, but not as common, right? Because we don't have to. A lot of time in horticulture industry, they are tracking raw materials, like, what your input is, for the seed or what cutting or tissue culture, what you're starting. You do want to track that because maybe the seeds are bad or there's something wrong with the cuttings or the TC. So you want to be able to go back to the purchase order to be able to see what lot that came from. So you can go back to your supplier and hopefully get a refund or get something like that. So, but also you could also lot track finished products, and that's more like the food industry where you need to know what customers got what product. That is a lot more complex, right? So lot tracking to me is kind of like locations. We used to track locations. We do our best to do that, but how seasonal the industry is, where we would like to know where to send people and be able to say what bench a product is on. But when you're in the heat of the season and there's so much consolidation and everything going on, no matter how hard we tried, all of that went out the window. And so that's one thing that to really lot track, you need to be able to have precise locations and some things like that. So let's just talk about some of the added complexity that happens when you do start lot tracking. If you're lot tracking finished items, that's really what I'm talking about here. It's not really as complex to when you're going to start a production job to track, what the seed lot is or any of that. But, so many of the prospects we talk to are doing their production in Excel. So really that, where do you put those numbers? You got this Excel spreadsheet, you're doing all your production, and then somehow you got to save this lot number for every single job that you planted today and later be able to trace that back. Not that simple inside of Excel. Now, the concept inside of a system like ours, Dynamics 365 Business Central, it is a manufacturing system, so that's a standard part of it is this lot tracking. But if you're tracking finished material, lots must be selected at order entry or during the pick and ship. So which means you could have, 5 or more batches of basil or something, where at order entry, you're going to actually say which lot you're going to pull that product from for the customer. That always isn't that simple, right? That's great because that simplifies the whole thing. If you already specify at the order entry which lot to pull from, then as long as your picking crew pulls correctly and the pick list is sorted by lot, you're fine, right? But what about the other way, which is a common problem and really more real world, is doing it at pick or ship. And then you have thousands and thousands of liner trays or whatever you're selling that you have to either scan or somehow say what lot that came from. So there lies the rub. You also, like I mentioned earlier, you need precise location tracking, right? If you need to, on a pick sheet, tell a crew where to go and where to go pull from, well, you better know your locations, right? Because you need to know the location of that lot. And if part of that lot is in one bay and the rest of it's in another, you can imagine by the way you are laid out that could be very difficult. And so if you're already having problems with locations, that could, that's just going to add another bit of complexity there. It's also, there's additional training and equipment, whether or not you're scanning. That's really, when it comes to the horticulture industry, I think a lot of times, especially if you're going to track your product of, really what end customer got it, it really comes down to speed. And a lot of times the risk outweighs the reward. If it's really going to slow down your shipping line or your planting line, what have you with this, sometimes it just goes out the window. I mean, I did work with one butter lettuce grower, so this is food, so it is very strict. But what they did is they had a lot number per day. And what they did is they had like today's Tuesday, I think it's Tuesday. And so they would have a number that represents Tuesday, but there could be up to 20 different lettuce batches really assigned to that one number. So if there was a recall on the butter lettuce, they would really only know it's one of these 20 lot numbers, which really doesn't do a whole lot. But the reason they did it like that is because of the intense added complexity in that they're packing 20 little clamshells of butter lettuce, and they can be coming from several different lots, so they physically have to scan every single little clamshell that goes in a box. Maybe that's not feasible. Maybe that's going to add hours and hours to your packing shipping process. So, and can you keep up during peak season? That's the key. No matter what process we come up with in this industry, right? You're building it for your peak week to see if you can keep up with that. And what's key here is that one size does not fit all. And with that, what I mean by that is what's really special about our company and our software is that it is customizable, meaning out of the box, it has all of this functionality, but every company is different. And if you're going to really effectively lot track, it depends on what is your layout, what is your processes, do you have a planting line, do you plant in the house? There's so many variables to that. So really one size doesn't fit all. And so what we do is we have the standard functionality, but we are able to change that, massage it, get it to really work for what's best for your company. So that's really, like, again, what's special about what we do, because I can't show you a solution today that's going to work for everybody. But we take it a case by case basis and figure out what's best and what's best for the process for our customers. And it doesn't need to be one size fit all. Okay, so let's jump into this here. I'll show you a little bit in the system. Okay, so a few different ways that you can assign lots. First, I'm going to just start real quick and just look at an item. And we're going to take this basil leaf lettuce, 4.5 inch here. Okay, so here's our item, and there is the very bottom, these are called fast tabs. Down here we have item tracking. So really this is how you turn it on. It doesn't matter if it's an input like a pot or a tray, the actual cutting, what have you. Any item that you basically turn this on And this is one that I configured. I called it Agri lot, AW lot. And if you go inside here, there is some configuration in there. I won't get too into it, but you can see, you can specify whether or not, it's enforced. You can put date ranges in here by if you want to control how old the lots are, things like that. This is key here that I'm saying inbound lots, I'm automatically adding a number. So that means if I'm receiving a purchase order for cuttings, it's going to assign a lot number when I receive that purchase order. Now you can set this to manual if you want. We have customers that we've set it up where they actually scan it when they receive it and it enters the lot number into the purchase order. That's an example of how we've changed the process to work for the customer. And output lot number. So this is our finished, 4-inch basil that I'm sending out in this example. I'm telling it to give the job number as the lot number. Right? Think about that. That's the production job number. So when you send that out to customers, if for some reason you needed to do some sort of recall or figure out who got shipped what batch, the lot number that they have on their product is the actual production job number. So I'll show you how that works. And then there's other just rules and stuff that you can check here. So like I said, I'm not going to get too into the setup, but once you have it set up the way you want, you basically just select item tracking and the code. Okay, so how does that work? Let's just start from the beginning, and I'm going to open up production here. And let's just go ahead and plan something. Whoops, sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to plan 1,000. All right, we'll go ahead and release this. So what this is doing is just going to create a production job for 1,000. And just real quick, if you haven't seen this before, I'm planning backwards. So this is, I'm saying I want this sellable by week 19. So now it's going to go backwards. Let's go take a look at the job. Okay, so this is our job. And we are supposed to start this on 3/25. See, so it's this week. It went backwards, and we got to start this week so we can have it sellable in week 19. Okay, so I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I usually don't show this, but I'm going to go ahead and release this, and I'm going to create the work orders and everything and kind of just stay in the job. For those of you who've seen my webinars before, there's a production planning screen, and there's other areas to kind of do this. But since we're really just talking about traceability, I'm going to kind of do this a little bit quicker. So we got our germination here where we're going to sow this basil seed. And so I'm going to just say create document right there, and it created a work order right from inside the job here. And let's take a look at the work order. Okay, so this is showing, we got a germ rate on here, so you can see they're planting more than 1,000 because you want to end up with 1,000, so they're planting 111 more. But what's key here is this little item tracking little icon right here. What that means is this is item tracked, and you're going to have to say what lot of seed you're going to use for this work order. Okay. Now look at the coax pot here. That could be lot track too if you want, and then there would also be another icon there for that. But what we're going to do is I'm just going to go to functions here, and I'm going to reserve this lot. And so really up at the top, it's showing what I need, 111, see that in red right here. And then below it's showing the lots. This is a pretty easy example because I only have one lot of these organic basil seeds. And you can see there's 927,816. So I definitely have enough. And all I really need to do is click allocate right here in the bottom left. And you can see now I'm turned to green. There's 0 left to allocate up here, and that's it. So now I've said what lot I'm going to use, and now you see it change to a green check mark. So just a little bit about how you do this. I'm just showing it from the work order, so I'm sure you're thinking then the employee has to do it or they have to do that on the line. Yes and no. This can be done from production planning to look forward and look at what's happening next week. and a production manager, someone can go and pre-assign all of these lots if they want to. You know, you got to have a process to make sure that they get the right packet of seeds or the right lot of cuttings or what have you. But you know, so it's not that the end user employees have to do that. But we have done a lot where they actually open the work order and we've modified it so they can actually scan the seed pack or something like that. So the lot number goes in that way. So just keep in mind that as I show you through this, I'm really doing it kind of manual. But again, depending on your needs, we automate the process. So that's all we need to do with that. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Sorry. Forgot to post it. We'll just say we actually did plant 111, and we'll just say approve and post. Okay. So just real quick in the job here, we know what seed lot this came from now. It's assigned to this job. And as we work through this job, you can see that what does it say on the right, top right here? We're going to save you're going to know any crop treatments, inspections, pictures, all of the work orders, everything that has to do with this job is going to be saved in here. Think of this as a container, you know, so everything that happens to this batch is all in here. So when we finish this product, like I said, the lot number of the finished good is going to be the number of this job. They do put one suffix at the end, but it is just the job number. So we would be able to trace back to this job and look at everything that happened here. And even now, I can right over here to the right, click on sources, right? And we can already see that this seed lot for this job came from, you can see lot 0143 over here, and it came from this purchase order. I can even click right there, and then you can get right back to the purchase order where this came from. It came from Express Seed. So what I'm going to do now is jump to a job that I actually did go through. I'll show you kind of the end result. Let me just search for this. Yeah. Where's the genus? Let's look for basil. Okay. So this is a finished job. Let's just take a look at what we got here. Let's go right up to navigate here, and I can click on linkages and look at what we got. So this job came from 2 lots. This is a good example. So I didn't have enough seeds in 1 lot, so I used it from 2. So this is specifying that it came from 5.4 and 4.3. We can even open those up, and it shows again what the purchase order is. Same thing here. There's a purchase line where that came from. So this is pretty simple, right? Not a lot going on here. I can expand everything there as far as a job. So that's pretty simple. As far as getting back to the job, you're going to be able to trace what your input was right back to the purchase order. Or it could have been something that you produced. So you would see actually the production job that created the input, you know, is another way to do it as well. Now let's look at it from the end, meaning from the sales order. Get to my sales orders here. Okay, so from the sales order, now remember what we were talking about before, if you are going to lot track the finished item, you either have to say what lot you're going to pull from at the sales order, or like I said at the end, the pickers and pullers need to say what they actually pulled and what they shipped to who. Like I said, that's the hard part, right? But in this example, we're going to go ahead and choose the lot from the sales order. Okay. So what's really nice about this is that there is functionality in the system. It's a newer piece of the system that I have not mastered yet, but they're really trying to get to the point where the system, you can set up criteria to have it automatically select from which lots. You know, criteria like, you know, the age of it or when it was purchased, different things. So because think about it, if you can specify the lot in the sales order, and if they pull it correctly, that takes away the whole complexity of scanning and everything at shipping, okay? So if your nursery is laid out correctly and it does work to where you can do that and actually have lots to pull from, this will work really good. So there is a select available lot screen. That's almost like a speed entry here. Let's just filter this for basil because this is all my lots. And so you can see I have 2 lots for this 4.5 inch, okay? So I can really say this actually, you know, comes in different containers. I have flats of 10. So let's just say flat, and I want 20 flats, okay, which is really going to be 200 because I have 10 in a flat, okay? Now, I'm only going to add this one, right? But you can imagine if you have, you know, several or multiple items on an order, you know, that need to be lot tracked, you can actually go down in this screen and do it all. You say, okay, and then it's going to add it to this 200, and you have 20 flats right here. If I scroll all the way to the right here, you can see there is my lot number. Okay, I'm actually going to copy that, use it in a second here. So there I just pulled it from the order, right? Let's put a price on here, $2.99. Okay, and let's go ahead and ship. I'm going to post this, say shipping invoice. Okay, so now that's shipped. So if for some reason that customer had an issue, they could send back what that number was that was on their product, which is the job number, and we'd be able to go right to that job. And remember, we have everything in that job from everything, every treatment, every spray, you know, what areas, moves, you know, the full gamut. But one thing that we didn't see is actual sales orders. So if I wanted to come and say item tracing, so we're going to trace this. So this is like we had an issue with this lot, and I'm going to actually put the lot right there, and I'm going to trace it. And the trace methods, you can go to usage to origin. I'm going to go backwards and say origin to usage. Click trace. So here's our output of the job, right? There was 14,850. It's even showing what's remaining, but look at what we have here. Right under that, I have every shipment that came from that lot. Here's the shipments and the order numbers. Oh, look, I clicked on that. It actually will go to the posted sales shipment for you, but it's even showing the quantities. 500 of this order, 700, 200 in that. As simple as that. And remember that this lot number is also the job number. So then you would easily be able to go to the jobs, put that number in, take that suffix off, and there it is. And so that you're going to be able to, like I said, look in there and have all the information about the job, including the trace back to where the input came from. Okay. Now, if just to show you a little bit more of the tracing and functionality, let's go ahead and just look at our lots list and go right from the seed, okay? Here we have organic basil seed. Let's filter to that view there. So I can click on linkages right here, and it's showing me the lot, right? And we know it came from a purchase order. But look at here, I'm going to click this destinations button. And let's open it up here. And so now that I know that that seed lot of 143 here went into these 4 different production jobs, which also, when they were finished, this job number is also the lot of the finished item. So you can see really how it's all interwoven, and you can really have traceability forwards and backwards. But again, the complexity of this is, can you keep up with your volume and actually track all this information? You know, and again, that is something that we as a partnership with our customers figure out. And I can just tell you, we've come up with some very, very clever and efficient processes for depending on the customer and depending on their process, their product, and things like that. So I give you a little bit about how it works, really not too fancy once you set it up. Like I said, the hard part is actually having the end employee, you know, at whatever part of the process actually, you know, stop and enter this information. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Dale and see if we have any questions.
Great, thank you, Todd. That was I was following along there as best I could. It's really some powerful functionality. I particularly noted there at the end, showing linkages moving forward from the seeds up to the shipment, and then looking backwards. That's some very great deal of visibility there. So I want to thank you for that. I and so I want to thank Todd for his presentation today, and I want to thank you and the audience for joining. And we want to wish you a great rest of the day.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much. Wash your hands. Stay safe.
All right. See ya.